Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from AlexMercedCoder.dev, and in this video what I'd like to do is I would like to talk about the idea of task running. Okay, and what is task running? First, let's kind of like just set up a basic JavaScript project. Like let's say I have two files. Let's see here, we'll say file 1.js. Okay, and all this is going to do is console.log 1. And then I have another file, 2.js, and I want to then run 2, console.log 2. Okay, now if I open up a terminal and I want to run these two files, the commands would be I'd first have to do node1.js, and then I'd have to do node2.js. Okay, and that's fine. Okay, but what if I don't want to have to type in both commands every single time? Okay, yes, you can do compound commands. I could do something like this, like node1.js and node2.js, but that's a lot of typing, and I have to type that out every single time. Okay, you have different options in order to make it easier to run multiple tasks. Okay, now in JavaScript, if you're using Node to run your JavaScript files, you can just use your Package.json. So if I were to just do an npm init-y to create my Package.json. Okay, so there's my Package.json. Node has task running built into it, so I could actually use these scripts for the purposes of running different tasks. Okay, so I could say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna have a task called run both. Okay, that'll be the name of the task. And whenever I run that script, what it's gonna do is say node1.js and node2.js. Okay, and now I can do npm run. I want to run a particular task, and I can say run both, and see it does both for me. Okay, it's going to run whatever command is associated with that script. That's a really cool feature built right into Node. One of my favorite features, because then you can just have everything nicely packaged with your project. Okay, but most other languages, most other package managers don't generally have task running built into them. Okay, and probably very popular for like C and C++, what they use are called makefiles. But you could use makefiles for any language. First, you just have to have make installed. Okay, so if you might have make installed already. Okay, just do make -- version. Okay, and you can see, okay, I have make there. Okay, and again, you can just look up how to install make for your particular environment if you don't have it. Windows, Linux, Mac, just be like install make for. Okay, now essentially what happens here is I can create a makefile. Okay, so what you do is you make a file called makefile. Okay, and now what I can do is I can create a task, run both. And then I hit tab and I can start putting in the different commands that I would normally enter the terminal. So I can be like node1.js, then node2.js. Okay, and then here in the terminal, now I can run make run both. And see, it's just gonna run those commands. So see, it's printing what command's gonna run, and then the output of the job. This is typically used for like compiling programs, because what happens is oftentimes if you're compiling something in C++, Go, Rust, there might be tasks that you want to do before. Okay, so you might, like let's say you're talking about Java, you might have to compile a lot of your Java code into jars. Okay, these are like these basically compile to Java bytecode. So you need to compile like 3 different things to jars, because the main thing you're going to compile next depends on those jars. So you need to like compile this, compile that, compile this, and then compile the last thing. So you want to create like a task that kind of outlines those things in the right step. That way you don't have to type each of those steps every single time. Okay, so make you can use with any language, because all you're really doing is just running a bunch of bash commands. But it does require you to have make installed. Okay, and at the end of the day, it's just running a bunch of bash commands or terminal commands, depending on if you're using like CMD or whatnot. If on Windows would be CMD or PowerShell. But you don't even have to do that. You could just use your built-in terminal. You can write terminal scripts. So I'm using bash as my terminal, which would be the same for like Mac or Linux. Again, Windows would be CMD or PowerShell. Okay, but I can go write a script for my shell. Okay, a shell script. So I can create a file. We'll call it touch tasks dot sh dot sh. Extension means shell. Okay, so I have this file called tasks dot sh. I could just make this, do what I wanted to do. So it'd be like node 1.js, node 2.js. Okay, I could do that, and then I just run the file. I would just type in source to run the file. Okay, I type in source, and I would say tasks.js. Okay, and that's going to run it, and see, it runs the commands that I have in the file. So I could write a shell script that doesn't require me to install anything externally other than just having a shell to run that script against. Okay, and then again, this runs source. I could also make that shell script executable. I'm trying to remember exactly the right command for that. Chmod. I think we'll just say plus x to tasks dot see if that works. Okay, that looks like it might have worked. Plus x means add it being executable. So now I could just run that file tasks dot and see it'll run the command because now that file is executable, meaning I can run it itself. I don't have to run it as a thing that I pass to some other thing. Okay, cool. So those are some options. And again, if you start to use some things like Deno or Bun for JavaScript that may not have a built-in task manager, these are all legit options. But again, what if I don't want to what I don't want to necessarily write like a bunch of shell scripts for each possibility. That's where make comes in pretty nicely because I can make different ones. I can just be like run both, run one, and this one would just, and you have to do tabs. So it has to be tabs, not spaces. So node 1.js, and then I can make another one that's like run 2, node 2.js, and I can just be like, okay, make run 1, just kind of like I could with the package.json scripts. Okay, and so he just runs that one command. Okay, this is nice and easy. Again, I can do that with the bash script. Okay, so what I could do is I could just be like if, and I forget the exact syntax for an if statement in bash. So bear with me, let's double check. If statements in bash. Okay, it should look like pretty much any if statement, but just want to make sure. Okay, uses square brackets. So I'm glad I checked. Okay, and then ones for arguments. So basically, can I see one that's just like equals? Here we go. The length of the string is greater than 0. The length of the string is equals string 2. Okay, good. Okay. So basically it would be like if 1, okay, the first argument equals, run 1. Okay. Then what I wanted to do is, let me just see how it denotes it. It's square brackets, square bracket. No, okay, it's just then. Okay. And then use if backwards. Okay. To mark the ending. So then, okay, it would be node 1.js. And then we mark the end by typing if backwards. So then I could do that for each situation. This would be great. It's essentially the same thing I'm doing with the Makefile, except that, again, I'm typing out more stuff. That's the benefit of using the Makefile. It just makes it where I don't have to like type out all these if statements. But let's just try this out. So the way this would work is I would have to like run the script tasks dash, and then anything after that is an argument. So I'd be like task dash run 1. Okay. Run 1 command not found. Was I supposed to put that in, I think I might have to put that in quotation marks. Just want to see if they show me an example. Okay, let's see one with a string. Yeah, I do have to put that in quotation marks. Okay, so there we go. Let's try that again. Run 1 command not found. Run 1 if. Well, let me just do it this way. Source task ditch. Okay, bash missing. What am I missing there? Saying I'm missing a quote. Did I use the wrong quote? If two, oh, two equal signs. Oops. That's pretty much like every other language. I must have thought it was like lists per second where you only use one equal sign. Okay, let's try that again. Still doesn't like it. What am I missing here? If, then, that looks pretty fine. Do I have to do an else? I don't think I have to do an else. No, I don't. Okay, one. Let's see if it really requires me to use the shebang. I don't think it ran before, but without the shebang. So let's add the shebang, which tells it what binary to run. Let's see if that makes a difference. Nope. Let's just Google this error. So that way we don't have to be walking away from this video wondering what happened. Okay. I'm getting an error. Change if into, what's the difference here? Oh, okay, it wants a space here. Okay, looking like it wants me to put spaces like that. So let's try that. In-area operator, expected. Let's see here. Okay, it only wants the space on the second spot. Let's go back to here. So you see, this is why Makefile tends to be very popular, because you don't have to deal with all these if statements. Okay. But theoretically, this is what would happen. So let me just do a quick lookup. Ah, okay. I also need a semicolon right here. Okay, so let's try that. Not quite. Okay, so figured it out. Here's the problem. Okay, so that last error, what happened is that I was running this, and I was forgetting to pass the second an argument. So basically, again, you need to make sure you pass an argument. So I need to do like, first I have to run the command. So run this script, task dash, and then I got to pass the argument, run one. Okay, the other issue was I needed the spaces before and after these square brackets for it to be read correctly. Okay, so that's, but technically this is how you would do it. Okay, so if you just want to do it with pure bash and not have to use make, essentially I would create all these if statements and be like, run two, run both. Okay, and then again, this would run 2.js, and then this would run both. Okay, and this essentially would be the same result as the Makefile, but again, a little bit more work, a little bit more typing. Okay, so let's try it again. Source run one. Let's try run two, and run both. Okay, so again, those are your options. There's a lot of other task running programs and task running libraries in every language, but at the end of the day, regardless of what language you're using, you can always use Makefile, or you can just run bash scripts, because you can just run the commands, because you can run any command that you have in your language in your bash terminal. So I could say, hey, I want to run the TypeScript compiler, then run node again, or node or bun or deno against the script that comes, the output of that compiler, or I can run a Python script and take the output of that Python script and port it into a JavaScript or JavaScript script, and generate whatever. Like, you can get pretty creative if you want. The idea is that if you just want to automate some tasks, or have some tasks that are like have lots of steps, and you don't have to write out all the steps, like let's say committing to GitHub, and you want to say, hey, push, and you could also just write bash functions as well. Like I could do something like this. This will be the last thing I'll show. I could write a bash function like this. So let's say, functions dot okay, and then I'm going to define a function, which should just be what function. We'll just call it run both. Okay, and that will equal node 1.js, node 2.js. Okay, so first what I would do is I would run the script, so I'd be like source functions dot and then that would define these functions for this terminal. Again, if I restart my terminal, those function definitions will be cleared out. But now I should be able to do this: run both, and see, it just runs that command. Okay, that's what I've done with this like pushy command. I made a function that basically does a git add, then a git commit, and then a push. So that way I can have one command that does all the things. So there's a lot you can just do with pure Bash if you just learn like the Bash language for scripting. But you can then also then automate a lot of that using Makefiles. And then again, if you're using Node, specifically Node, you can do scripts right out of your package.json. Okay, and save yourself the trouble and just have it nice and packaged directly with your with your uh, with your package. Okay, so hopefully you guys found this useful. My name is Alex Merced from AlexMercedCoder.dev. Hit subscribe, hit like. I'll see you all later.